blitzing. Here they come. Pass across the middle, and it's caught for the first. It's Baldwin shaking free and sprinting down the sideline for the touchdown. His third of the day. Freeze off play action. Watkins to him and brings him down. Left side. Peterson still going. Touchdown.
And now, Move the Sticks with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks.
What's up, everybody? DJ Bucky back here on Move the Sticks. And, Buck, I know you're a big Billy Ray Cyrus fan.
Yeah.
From going back in the day.
That's right.
Was he the one that's saying, I like it, I love it, I want some more of it?
I don't know about that. I know about Achy Breaky Heart, right?
Yeah, that might be wrong. I could be wrong. But when it comes to those lyrics, that's how I felt about this weekend of football. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was tremendous, not only from the college standpoint, but I thought pro standpoint. Being able to watch a ton of competitive teams, guys that are vying for the MVP race, the MVP award, playing at a high level, those are the things that you want to see when it's coming down the stretch.
Yeah, I bought a TV on Black Friday, and it was a good weekend to buy one. Not only because the prices were nice, but because of this weekend of football. The snow game between the Pats and the Broncos was awesome. Awesome TV, fun game to watch, all kinds of twists and turns in that one. We'll get to Brock Osweiler and how he played a little bit later on in the show today. But then we had the shootout between the Steelers and the Seahawks. Used to be two defensive teams. I guess those days are gone.
Yeah, they're throwing around the yard.
So that was fun to watch. But, man, it was just a fun weekend of football.
You know, you have to like it when you're able to see competitive teams. You see a little offense. You saw some situational defense. But I think what we're seeing, the top teams are beginning to separate themselves from the pack. And that's what you want to see as we head into December.
And for those that are maybe checking us out for the first time on YouTube or NFL.com or maybe listening to us on iTunes. This is our show here. It's Move the Sticks. It's DJ, it's Bucky, both former scouts in the National Football League. We look at the NFL game from a player personnel perspective. Going to give you our breakdown on players, matchups, teams, and trends. And as we inch closer towards the draft, we'll start dipping our toe in that college water. But
yeah, we're excited to talk about some of these young guys that could be making their way to the league.
Yeah, a lot of fun to have there in the spring. But as for today, we have a big show coming up. TD, producer behind the glass, you and Will have a nice little slate for us today. I want you to tell everybody what's coming.
Yeah, real quick. First of all, lyrics for the week 12. How about back, forth, and forth, Aaliyah?
Oh, there you go.
A little back and forth in the Seahawks and Steelers.
I was going to go Paul Abdul, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. Might be a little before your time, though.
A little bit.
Although you have dressed like Janet Jackson on occasion, so maybe not.
Rhythm Nation, baby. How about 0 to 100 real quick, you know?
There you go.
Brock, all of a sudden.
There you go. We can do that.
All right, let's go. Today's show, we're going to do, it's week 12, so we're going to see what teams we're buying, which teams we're selling, you know, entering the latter portion of the season. We're going to talk about some standouts in week 12, scout notes with Adrian Peterson, Brock Osweiler, and then Coach Billick is also going to join us before we do our top plays of the week.
So Coach Billick is back.
He's back.
Coach Billick's back. Look at TD in there quoting lyrics. How about this, TD? How about Overnight Celebrity by Twista in terms of Brock Osweiler? He's been in the league for 4 years. It's not an overnight success. He's been there for a minute.
I like that.
I like watching Will's face light up when TD starts busting out some lyrics back there.
How about
he gets
that?
excited. But, Bucky, let's start things off here with what we're going to call buy and sell. So things that we're buying and things that we're selling. I guess we'll start off on the things we're into and things we want to buy some stock in. And I like it. What can I say? Kirk Cousins. I'm buying.
You're buying.
I'm buying the stock.
You're all in on Kirk Cousins.
The way he's playing right now, protecting the football, and that was my big knock on him. He could get kind of frenetic when he got pressure on him, and decision making could get away from him a little bit. He's been safe with the football, and now that you have Deshaun Jackson back in the mix, he can give you the underneath accurate passing, which he has been able to do. And now he's been able to get over the top with Deshaun Jackson. Man, getting the ball to backs and tight ends, safe throws, and then now you're getting big throws. I like the way he's playing. And look, he's a free agent, Buck. And I talk about buying or selling. The Washington Redskins are going to be in the buying Kirk Cousins business. They're going to have to pay him.
Oh, they're going to have to pay him. And so when you buy Kirk Cousins, that means you have to continue to buy Jake Gruden. I think you should do that because if you're going to marry the quarterback, you need to marry him with the head coach that is going to bring out the best in Kirk Cousins. And say what you want to about Kirk Cousins being a game manager or having a ceiling as a quarterback if he's surrounded by talent. And I do think he's surrounded by talented playmakers. Deshaun Jackson, they are scoring his 19th touchdown of over 60 yards. You are giving him an opportunity to be successful. As Bill Callahan continues to establish that run game and the dominance that they have at the point of attack, the Washington Redskins offense looks formidable. All Kirk Cousins has to do is avoid the turnovers. He's done it of late. Consequently, they have been winning more games.
Yeah, I look at it from a baseball perspective. Just give him backs and tight ends, single, 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 single. Doesn't need doubles or triples. Those are difficult throws. He's getting out home runs over the top to Deshaun Jackson. I like the way this marries up.
And that's what he was coming out of Michigan State. Won a lot of games at Michigan State. Had a nice set of weapons around him. Managed the game. Did the things that you need to do to win games. As long as he plays within himself and doesn't try to be the guy that he's not, meaning he's a home run hitter. As long as he sticks to being kind of like a singles and doubles hitter, they can win a lot of games. He just has to understand who he is and what he is.
All right, what are you buying?
I am buying the Kansas City Chiefs playoff chances. And part of the reason I'm optimistic about the Chiefs, Alex Smith is playing really well. He's doing a great job of, we talk about Kirk Cousins being a game manager. Alex Smith knows exactly what he is. He doesn't turn the ball over. He is not giving the other team opportunities to work on short fields, and so they're able to play complementary football. 8 games it's been since he's thrown an interception. 283 passes without an INT. You can win like that. The most important statistic in football is winning the turnover battle. I'm looking at this in the last 5 games. 14 takeaways, no giveaways for the Kansas City Chiefs. That is part of the reason they're able to win. You're not losing the turnover battle. They're playing really good football. Andy Reid doing a great job.
I think we just flew a Gil Brandt tweet over your comments.
I didn't see that.
Gil dropping some knowledge. Look, they've won 5 games in a row, Buck. You talk about them being a playoff team. How about them running the table from here on out? Let me give you the games. You tell me where the loss is. They're going to play the at the Raiders, very winnable game. Then they got the Chargers, at the Ravens, Browns, and Raiders. That's it.
I'm going to say this. I think they may split with the Raiders because that rivalry is very intense, and the Raiders find a way to get it done against the Chiefs typically once a year. That is the only game that I'll say. But the rest of it, I think they absolutely can roll in. So that'll put them at 10. And normally 10 will get you in. They get to 10 games, they're going to get in. And they could benefit by having a favorable matchup if they can get to that 5th seed. That would give them opportunity to play the AFC South winner, which will be either Indianapolis or Houston. I think they match up pretty well against that. Oh, see, look at that. Gil and I are on the same track. I didn't see that tweet before.
For our audio listeners, Gil Brandt says Alex Smith has an active streak of 283 consecutive pass attempts without an interception, the 4th longest in NFL history.
I like when TD does Gil. That should be a show.
I like that. I feel like it's a soap opera.
All right, let me jump back in with what else I'm buying here, Buck. That's the Vikings defense as being an elite group. We throw that word around a lot, elite. Man, I had a chance to go back and watch them against the Falcons. I know Matt Ryan has been struggling, but man, they smothered that offense. Xavier Rhodes traveling with Julio Jones, locking him down, and then not even playing with Harrison Smith, the guy who we've had on the show who we love, who's a physical presence. And then Everson Griffin off the edge. What he did to Jake Matthews was criminal, Buck. This defense is an elite. It's one of the 3 or 4 best defenses in national football.
Absolutely. Young, athletic talent on that defensive side of the ball. They can get after you. They can bring pressure. They can get after you with 4. They have the ability to lock you up on the outside. Xavier Rhodes playing outstanding football. Mike Zimmer's done a great job of changing the attitude. Rick Spielman deserves credit for assembling a nice cast of playmakers in the past 2 to 3 seasons in the draft. But Mike Zimmer has really pushed all the right buttons, getting those guys to play. And Norv Turner on offense, he compliments them by calling a game that doesn't put the defense at risk. Not a lot of turnovers from that offense. Defense is always able to play in favorable positions.
And Anthony Barr, a player who's been playing lights out, we're going to get to him a little bit later on in the show and break his game down, Buck. All right, give me one more. What else you buying?
I am buying J.J. Watt and the Houston Texans defense. You talk about the Minnesota Vikings being an elite defense. Heading into this season, we thought that Houston could have an elite defense if they got all the pieces back. Jadeveon Clowney being able to play, J.J. Watt continuing to play at a high level. We're beginning to see them show that. When you think about playing good defense, there are only 3 stats that matter to me. Points allowed, turnovers, and third down. Last 4 games, only 8.8 points allowed. Holding teams on third down, 26.2%.
Wow.
All season. That is tremendous effectiveness and efficiency on third down. And then, look, 2 turnovers a game, the last 4 games. It allows them to kind of set their offense up. And even though they're working with an offense that can't necessarily deliver the explosive plays, you keep setting them up with short fields, they'll find a way to punch it in. J.J. Watt and company are playing outstanding ball on that side.
Kevin Johnson is having a great rookie season out of Wake Forest. I'm going back. I believe I had him, I think I had my 3rd corner. Might even had, the 3rd corner, maybe my 4th corner in the draft. Had him in kind of the early 30s on my sequence list. Clearly, I should have been higher on him the way he's played this year. You remember what you thought of him coming out of Wake?
You know, I thought he and Marcus Peters, to me, I think I had those 1 and 2, and then Trey Waynes there. He was no later than 3rd. I thought he would be a good player. And part of the reason I thought he could be a good player early is because when I watched him at Wake Forest, he had the versatility. He could play press. He could play off. He could bail. He was a very smart and cerebral player. So putting him into a thinking man's defense, which is what the Houston Texans play, it plays right into his wheelhouse. He's doing a great job, but he's also fortified by that front.
Yep.
J.J. Watt being able to collapse the pocket up front, forces the ball to come out. Those guys can hunt picks in the back end. That's what they're doing.
And a good reminder, too, Kareem Jackson on that team. Corners and to me, offense and defensive linemen, don't be too quick to turn in the card there and figure out what you have after 1 year, 2 years. It's taken him a while to develop, but now he's playing at a very high level, corner out of Alabama.
You know, and sometimes the consistency of playing in the same scheme, being asked to do the same thing, and also tailoring the scheme to fit the talents of the personnel, that's what the Houston Texans are able to do.
All right, so that's what we're buying here on Move the Sticks. How about what we're selling, Buck?
Hey, look, I already know, like, don't hit me up on Twitter. Don't blow me up, all my Carolina fans. Look, I used to work there. I'm a huge supporter of the Carolina Panthers, but I still will go on record right now and say I don't believe that this is the best team in the NFL, despite their 11-0 record. I understand they're undefeated. Cam Newton deserves to be in the conversation for MVP, and part of the reason he deserves to be in the conversation for MVP, I don't think this is the most talented team in the league. I think they're playing well on defense. Their defense is doing a great job of holding people down, keeping the score down, not allowing people to move the ball. That allows their offense, which I still think is talent deprived on the outside, to find a way to score. But I think when you match them up against the top teams that we're talking about in the Final Four, the Final Five teams, I don't think they'll be favored in any of these games. So as I'm looking at it, Arizona Cardinals, New England Patriots, Denver Broncos, and maybe even the Cincinnati Bengals, if we match those teams up, I think they would be the underdog in most of those contests with the exception of the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think if you examine the rosters, I think each of those teams have more blue players on both sides of the ball than the Panthers. Because of that, I'm buying them as a nice team. I'm just not buying them as the best team in the league.
See, I actually am buying them as the best team, Buck. And I think when you look at those teams you just rattled off, they only have to play two of them, because most of those are in the AFC. The only team they're going to have to see in the NFC is the Arizona Cardinals. That's the only debate for me in the NFC is Arizona or Carolina. I think the way Green Bay's kind of fallen off, we like the Vikings, but I still think I'd take the Carolina Panthers in those matchups. So to me, I think they are the best team in the league.
You take them over the Arizona Cardinals?
I would.
What about the Panthers do you like better than the Cardinals?
When I look at the Carolina Panthers, I think defensively what they can do up with their front. Now I love the secondary that Arizona possesses, but I think the front seven of the Carolina Panthers poses more problems, especially with those two linebackers inside. I like the fact that you have a corner, as you have in Arizona, and Josh Norman, you can match up, try and wipe somebody out as he did with Dez Bryant this past week. And then when you go over to the offensive side of the ball, I like when things get muddy and things break down that Cam can help me get out of some trouble. I think if you can pin Carson Palmer in, you can get after him. I think both offensive lines are a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, they both are.
And so when I look at that situation, okay, you got offensive lines that are a little bit suspect. You've got dominant defensive fronts. I want the quarterback can get out of some of that trouble. I think Cam Newton can get out of some of that trouble. Now, skilled players on the outside, I'll give the edge to the Arizona Cardinals. But man, the way this team is rolling right now, the Carolina Panthers, they're not dipping down to play to the level of their opponent. We saw the San Francisco 49ers give the Arizona Cardinals all they wanted the other day. The Carolina Panthers just take care of business, Buck.
They do take care of business, but I will say this, on their schedule, I'm still waiting to see them. Look, I know a couple weeks ago they dispatched the Green Bay Packers. That was a great job. I'm still waiting to see them get into a shootout where they have to snuff out or compete with an elite offense and have to find a way to generate points. I know they went to Seattle and they found a way to win games. But can they score with a team like a Denver Broncos or New England Patriots? Can they deal with the
That's in the Super Bowl. They're going to be there.
That is in the Super Bowl.
The Arizona's the only debate. It's them or Arizona in the NFC, and that you know where that game's going to be played.
The game will be played in Carolina. The thing about the Arizona Cardinals, the Cardinals are balanced. I want to say they're a top 5 team in offense and defense, maybe the only team in the league that is kind of in that vein. Bruce Arians does a great job of scheming and crafting things for them to get big plays. And I know their defense is outstanding in Carolina, but Carson Palmer and the way they're able to get it done, the way they go after people is tough. And then the Cardinals defense, they're going to blitz Cam. And they're going to dare Philly Brown and Ted Ginn and those other guys to get open. And I just don't know if they can get open against that secondary. The Bird Gang, to me, I think the Cardinals are a better team, even though the record suggests that the Panthers are a better team.
Well, one thing, though, there's two things, though. When you're going to blitz Cam Newton, two things. You better have somebody that can match up with Greg Olsen, because we can talk about lack of weapons. They have a
Honey Badger.
Okay, I like Honey Badger.
Honey Badger could be maybe the defensive player of the year, and I know
I'm on board
Josh
with that.
Norman,
I'm on board with Honey Badger.
Knight.
But I'm just saying, now, two things. You're going to have to cover Greg Olsen. You want to put Honey Badger there, that's fine. Number two, you're going to send everybody to Cam Newton. You better get him on the ground. Because if you send bodies at him and don't get him on the ground, there's a lot of room to run. And that is a big, fast man in the open field.
That is a big, fast man. But, okay, so Greg Olsen's the other guy. So say we put two on them. Remember, the Cardinals play dime defense, nickel defense more than anybody else in the league. So Deion Buchanan, Tony Jefferson, Honey Badger working to double team him. Who's going to get open against Patrick Peterson? Does Patrick Peterson need to play? Like, I don't even know if Patrick needs to play against the Carolina Panthers on the outside because I don't know who is their most dangerous threat outside. When you take away Greg Olsen, then you're saying that Ted Ginn Jr., Philly Brown, and Devin Funchess have to be able to beat us on the outside. I just don't know because all those other teams that I've listed all have dominant pieces on the outside. And I'm a guy that believes defense wins championships, but you have to be able to score. And I just don't know in a playoff environment if the Panthers can score enough.
The Panthers, this is my last point. Panthers at home against the Arizona Cardinals with their defense in that environment, they don't need to score but 17 points, Buck. 17 points, Carolina Panthers going to win that game.
17 is the magic number.
We'll see. Time will tell. By the way, my Panthers went. Remember, everybody said the Cowboys going to beat the Panthers. Yeah, they didn't have it. Let's move on now. What I'm selling, I'm selling. I'm done. I'm off the Falcons, man. I'm off Matt Ryan. I'm off the Falcons. I talked a little bit earlier about breaking down that game and watching the Minnesota Vikings just smother them on the outside. No breathing room at all. And then Matt Ryan.
What's wrong with Matt Ryan?
The decision making, Buck. I mean, look, some of it I get. You're not getting separation, but when you're down in the red area, you're giving away 3 points, and he's rolling to his left, trying to throw across his body like he's Brett Favre back in the day. Just ugly interceptions, and then. To me, I don't understand how they haven't figured out a way to get Julio a little bit more involved with some easy ones early in the game. Just get the ball in his hands, let him run after the catch. The degree of difficulty on what they're asking Matt Ryan to do is a little much.
I am really surprised. I thought this offense would roll. I thought Kyle Shanahan and Matt Ryan would team up and have really one of the more explosive offenses. Julio Jones, we saw him get off to that fast start. Even though Devontae Freeman didn't play, Tevin Coleman gave you over 100 yards rushing. And so when you have the necessary running game to really supplement that passing game, I am just surprised.
Look at that pick.
I understand what Matt Ryan is. Matt Ryan is a game manager. Matt Ryan is a person, a player who needs all the pieces around him to be solid, to be right. And he has that. The one thing that Ike Taylor pointed this out on Game Day Blitz on Sunday, he hasn't been the same since Tony Gonzalez has left.
They don't have a tight end.
They don't have anyone.
Levine, Toy, Lolo, a little bit of a drop-off from Tony G.
Huge drop-off. And so they don't have anyone in the middle of the field that can control the game between the hashes. That might be the missing piece that's preventing Matt Ryan from being comfortable. Because, you play quarterback. The easiest throw is right down the middle to the tight end, particularly if it's a big-body tight end with athleticism. They don't have that, and I think that is the thing that's keeping Matt Ryan from playing at an elite level. And
I know you talk about Tevin Coleman having some yards in that game. They missed Devontae Freeman in the pass game, giving some of those easy completions. There's a key play. They line out trying to throw the ball to the back. And it's like, okay, Devontae Freeman, I see that. He's not in the game. Let's try and get the ball over to Julio Jones. But Roddy White has no juice.
No, he doesn't have
no tight end.
Nothing. So now really you're playing with a one-man game in the passing game, and then you have Tevin Coleman because you don't have Devontae Freeman. Matt Ryan needs a little more, but he has to play better. At the end of the day, when you're a $100 million quarterback, like the expectations are that you take it to another level. He hasn't taken it to another level.
Matt Ryan's a first-round quarterback. I'm selling right now. You're selling a first-round quarterback.
Yeah, look, I bring out that price there. We talk about $100 million. The expectations are high. Ryan Tannehill is not a franchise quarterback. Not a franchise quarterback in terms of what the market deems a franchise quarterback to be. When you pay someone nearly $20 million per, you expect him to be able to raise the fortunes of the franchise. And what Ryan Tannehill is I keep throwing this word up, he's a game manager who needs all the complementary weapons around him to be good. But when I look at the Miami Dolphins roster, I think he has pretty good weapons. Jarvis Landry, Kenny Stills, Jordan Cameron. Devontae Parker, for whatever reason, hasn't been able to get on the field, but he scored a touchdown in garbage time against the Jets. At some point, it has to fall on Ryan Tannehill to turn his game and take his game up a notch. He doesn't do it. Some of that may be because Bill Lazor, the offensive coordinator,
former offensive
coordinator, wasn't running the ball enough to Lamar Miller, and he's putting a lot on Ryan Tannehill's shoulders. But at some point, this time in his career, he needs to be able to show strides and progress of being able to do a little more. He hasn't done that. Because of that, I'm selling him as a franchise quarterback. I think they can win with him, but they got to get more from him. And the new offensive coordinator or the new head coach potentially next year has to find a way to build it around Ryan Tannehill and make him as comfortable as possible. Then it's on Tannehill to get it done.
Yeah, to me, you talk about, people say, use the term love-hate relationship. With Tannehill, it's like, neither. I mean, I'm not in love with him, but I don't hate him. He's somewhere in the middle. You kind of look at his numbers, 20 touchdowns, 11 picks, not bad, 62% passer. He gets a lot of garbage yards.
A lot, and that's the thing. If we could eliminate the fourth quarter from some of these games where there have been blowouts, he compiles a lot of them because from a fantasy perspective, he had a great game yesterday. He did a good job. Jarvis Landry had a huge game, but a lot of it was over. They improved in defense. They're letting him run up and down the field. I need to see Ryan Tannehill play better when the chips are down, when the game is on the line. I need him to step up and deliver those plays that you expect to see from our franchise quarterback. Right now, I'm not seeing a guy with the it factor to be considered a franchise quarterback like some of the others in the league.
A lot of times you have young quarterbacks developing. I'm always been, okay, you got to slow it down. With Tannehill, I'm like, speed it up, man. Have some sense of urgency. Let's go. He's just too lackadaisical with the football in the pocket, holding the ball. Ball pops out of his hands. He's taking all those safeties this year. He needs to crank up the urgency. A little bit too laid back for me.
It's one of the issues I had with him coming out of Texas A&M. Only had 19 starts. I'm worried about his ability to grow into the role of a franchise quarterback. I understand he was taken within the top 10. They thought that he could be a guy. And he's shown signs of it, but the consistency is not what you want to see from a guy that should be the guy that's the leader of your team, leader of your franchise.
Yeah, don't love him, don't hate him. That's kind of where I would go with Ryan Tannehill. I know TD has a question, but before I let you chime in, TD, I'm going to finish up my last one here. We good?
Well, this has to do with Ryan Tannehill.
Oh, you want to jump on Tannehill?
Yeah, this has to do with Tannehill.
What do you got?
Exactly. So one of our YouTube segments, Who Would You Rather Have? We've done a few of those.
No.
ODB,
Why you can do that to me?
Cooper. Just really quick, who would you rather have, Kirk Cousins or Ryan Tannehill?
Man, we did it on Tannehill and Derek Carr, and I foolishly said Tannehill. I was a euphoric moment for me with the way Tannehill was playing at the moment. I was wrong on that one.
So
Kirk Cousins or Tannehill? The way they're playing right now, you would say Kirk. I think Kirk has more arm talent than Tannehill does. I think he's got a stronger arm. Both guys can move around a little bit. This is one of those. I hate being the prisoner of the moment, but if you just look over the last 5 weeks, I would say Kirk Cousins has played better.
I would go with Ryan Tannehill simply because I think Ryan Tannehill is a better athlete. I think their arm talent is comparable, but I'm willing to buy into Tannehill's athleticism, allowing us to do more stuff in the pass game and in the run game. But once again, I think if you put both guys, if we did a trade and we moved Tannehill to Washington and Kirk Cousins to Miami, I think the results would probably be about the same. Even when surrounded by playmakers, I still don't see Tannehill give me what I want, but I definitely don't think that Kirk Cousins can necessarily take Miami and make them a better team. I would go with Tannehill, but it's really, really close in the debate.
Yeah, it's a legitimate debate here. I'm going to move on to my last one here, Buck, and what I'm selling. And I've referenced this on the show before. If I ever buy into the St. Louis Rams again, just kick me out here. To rip this mic off and just shoot me out of the studio and lock the door. Don't allow me back in.
You done?
I'm done with the St. Louis Rams.
So now you're done. It took them 4 losses in a row for you to be done.
Well, I was kind of done with them a couple weeks ago, but now I'm like super done.
Oh, so now you're done.
Yeah,
so now you really break.
I supersized. Like you go to supersized. I'm supersized done with the St. Louis Rams. Man, look, all these first rounders on defense. They get no sacks this past week. Offensively, it doesn't matter who they plug in at quarterback. They can't protect the football. They can't move the football. I guess the bright spot is finally we're seeing Tavon Austin kind of emerge and see some of that stuff we saw in college at West Virginia. That's starting to show itself a little bit. But this team, I kind of joked that they should move the Indianapolis 500 to St. Louis because they are the epitome of 500. It is the St. Louis Rams.
Round and round.
I don't think they're going to get to 500 this year.
It's such an interesting thing because if we looked at the roster, I think we both would, if we just blindly looked at the roster, man, they got a lot of blue players, a lot of players that can play at a high level on the defense side of the ball. They have some intriguing talents on offense, namely Todd Gurley, Tavon Austin. You would think you have
Todd Gurley had 9 carries. They gave the ball 9 times.
I mean, that's not enough. On the offensive line, they've been doing a good job, but for whatever reason, there's a disconnect. They're not playing to the level. And at some point, the eye of criticism doesn't go to Les Snead and their staff because I think they've done a really good job of assembling talent. Jeff Fisher, I mean, they've been average. This is supposed to be the year they're going to take a jump, and they continue to be a team that's mired right around the Mendoza line. They're 500. At some point, we have to look at him and say, is this a coach that's capable of making good teams great? Can he do anything besides deliver mediocre results with the talent that he's been given?
Man. At some point in time, don't you have to go to the playoffs?
6 times in 20 years. Like, that's an issue. Any other coach with that kind of tenure that has those few appearances in the playoffs, huge issue. Yeah. Andy Reid, 17 years, 10 appearances. Like, that's what you kind of expect to see from good coaches.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that with Coach Billick when he joins us a little bit later. But real quick here, Buck, let's go through our standouts from Week 12 and kind of rip through 3 names here. And to me, Adrian Peterson. I mean, I've referenced this game quite a bit today, but watching that game,
you have to be excited.
Watching him run the rock, man. This is like going in a time machine now. It seems like each week you're seeing more and more of that burst, the lateral quickness that he has, and then just a vicious nature that he finishes each and every run. Man, he's back.
He is absolutely back. I mean, you're talking about a 30-year-old running back that has explosive quickness and power. You have to like what you're seeing from Adrian Peterson.
Man, I love it. And when you kind of look at some of these plays in particular here, Buck, I mean, you're looking at a guy that's facing a loaded box. And when I say loaded box, I think 7, 8 guys. I'm talking about 9-man boxes that he's seeing, and he's still doing his thing, finishing every single run, exploding through the hole. I mean, I can't say enough about how good he's been.
You know, this is a team that's built to play playoff football. They run downhill. They give it to Adrian Peterson. He finds a way to get it done. There you're talking about 8 defenders in the box, takes it downhill, slithers through, and this is what you want to see. Watch him walk out of this arm tackle. Look, if you're going to deal with Adrian Peterson, you better put your pads on him. If you don't put your pads on him, you have no chance. Physical, violent runner, finds a way to get it done. You just don't see older running backs able to do this.
Yeah, this is, again, we're talking about 8-man box. Now we see a 9-man box. You just watch the toss here. This is the sealer here to finish everything out. Nice job by Ryan Khalil getting out there. And then Kyle Rudolph, hey, hats off to him, man. Tight ends, we don't have anybody that blocks that position in the NFL. He blocked his butt off in this game, including right here on the game-sealing touchdown.
I mean, that's what you want to see. You want to be able to put Adrian Peterson not only in between the tackles, but you want to get him on the edge. That little toss crack play was a great job of Norv Turner finding a way to get him on the perimeter.
Yeah, no. So definitely Adrian Peterson a standout this week. How about Sammy Watkins and what you saw from him?
Man, Sammy Watkins has been begging for more touches, and ever since he's begged for more touches, he's gotten it and he's delivered. He's a true number 1 receiver for the Buffalo Bills, explosive, deep threat. They're finding ways to get him matched up one-on-one on the outside, and he is cashing in on those opportunities.
No, he was big time. They got him vertically down the field. There's one play in particular on one of the touchdowns. He takes an inside release on a vertical route, and just the way he restacked the corner to be able to get on top and finish with the touchdown, to me, showed me not only does he have that ability, now you're seeing some of that polish come in as he gets a little more experience.
To me, he's made tremendous progress. And watching the game against Darrelle Revis in the New York Jets a few weeks ago, his releases at the line of scrimmage and press coverage, his aggressiveness, his assertiveness in terms of getting up the field and getting home, he is doing a great job of working into that role or growing into that role as a number 1 receiver. And we're seeing the big-time plays that we want to see. He dominated at the collegiate level at Clemson, delivering explosive plays. Continue to do so with the Buffalo Bills.
He's been begging for the ball and finally gave it to him. And he's now kind of reaching into that status where, like, hey, if I'm covered, I'm open. Just throw it. Just put it up. Give me a chance. I'll go get it.
You know, 6 catches, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, deep threat, explosive, playmaker. Those are the traits that you want from your number 1 receiver.
And our third standout from the week, we got to go to Brock Osweiler.
Man, Brock Osweiler, you're talking about a guy ching-a-ling-a-ling. Kirk Cousins is making money. Brock Osweiler is making himself a lot of money with each appearance. This is the offense the Denver Broncos wanted to play. They want to be able to run the football, get up under center, run the stretch and the bootleg, do some things in the passing game from empty and open sets. Brock Osweiler is giving them that. And when you look at the numbers, 23 of 42, 270 yards, on par with what Tom Brady did in the snowy weather. But what I liked about it were 3 things. I liked his poise, his confidence, and his grit. His resiliency. Didn't have a great first half, had an early pick, but kept plugging. And when the game was on the line, after they got the benefit of a turnover, that muff punt, he was able to punch it in. Nice throw on that touchdown. Brock Osweiler is showing Denver that they may have a quarterback in place when Peyton Manning.
Making a variety of throws, Buck. I mean, some big-time stick throws, and then getting over the top vertically, some big throws there as well. And to me, him working in the middle of the field, a lot of times young quarterbacks, a little nervous. They don't want to go into all that muddy area. He has been outstanding working in the middle of the field.
Working in the middle of the field requires you to have superb timing and anticipation. He showed that against Chicago.
And courage.
Yeah, last week he was 15 of 17. Haven't got the numbers on what his between the hashes throws were, but you're seeing the guy let the ball go. He's fitting in the tight windows. And New England challenged him in a different way than the Bears. They played more man-to-man, really contested the receivers on the outside. He was able to find a way to fit it into tight windows.
All right, we're going to bring in our coach here, Brian Billick, who joins us each and every week on Move the Sticks. I want to get his thoughts here on Brock Osweiler, namely, should he be the guy going forward? All right, well, Coach, we gave you a week off last week, so you look rested. You're ready to rock and roll this week. Do you have a good football weekend?
I did. Boy, just had a great turkey. I actually went down to Arizona to spend it with my daughter, who she's dating a guy that plays for the Suns, and I got to see Stephon Curry play live.
Oh, how was it?
Unbelievable. I have never seen that entire team. I watched Stephon Curry, no lie, sit in the corner, shoot 25 3-points from the left corner, make 24 of the 25 in warm-up.
I love it. Coach, you have scout in your blood. I can see this. Coach Billick,
unbelievable.
Super Bowl winning head coach, joins us every week here on Move the Sticks, but now I'm beginning to think you want to jump into scouting, Coach.
No, I've seen the job you guys have. I don't want it.
That makes three of us. Coach, we were just talking a little bit ago about Brock Osweiler and the job he did for Peyton Manning. We could say filling in. I'm beginning to believe it's replacing Peyton Manning. He plays at the level he's played the last 2 weeks, and when Peyton is healthy enough to come back, what decision is going to be made?
Yeah, that's a tough one in that as he continues to build the resume. Now, let's be careful now, too. The real difference, not taking anything away from Brock Osweiler, is how well they're running the ball now. That was the difference in the game the other night. You know, his numbers were okay. Actually, he hadn't thrown a pick in the first game, threw a pick in this game, and under 60%. So he's playing serviceable. He's obviously running the offense that Gary Kubiak wants to run, so that's a positive. But the biggest difference to me is how well they're running the ball. If they were running the ball that well with Peyton Manning back, yeah, it might have made a difference. Now, you're right. It's a legitimate question. What do you do if they continue on? He gets a couple more wins, plays at this same level. Now you get into playoffs, and Peyton Manning says he's healthy and fresh. To me, that's still going to be a tough one because you have to ask yourself, can I win it? They're built for this year. We've talked about that many times with all the moves they've made. Can you win a Super Bowl this year with Brock Osweiler at quarterback? That's asking a lot.
Coach, I want to go back to you talk about the running game and that being an advantage that Peyton wasn't afforded. But don't you think that who the quarterback is does have some influence on that? I mean, the field shrinks when you've got Peyton Manning out there. You know you're not going to get beat over the top. Now you've got Brock Osweiler, a little more arm talent. They can stretch you out as he did in this game, scare some safeties out of there, as well as his ability to get under center, do some of the boot waggle stuff they like to do, which is going to be able to hold some of the backside defenders. So can't the quarterback himself have an influence on the run game?
Oh, you're absolutely right, DJ, absolutely. And when we have the conversation, and we're going to continue to have it, obviously, does Peyton Manning come back? Do you go ahead and supplant him with or move him in, even though Brock Osweiler has been good and you're winning? That's on the assumption, and that's assuming a lot, that Peyton is healthy and can go deep because they've got the guys to do it with Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas and now with Vernon Davis. They can stretch the field if Peyton can do that. Now, you're right. If the foot can be fine and the shoulder can be fine, but if he comes back and just doesn't have that ability to put the ball deep, well, then you've answered your own question. There's no question you stay with Brock Osweiler because that potential of getting the ball deep clearly is a factor in the way they've been able to run the ball.
Now, Coach, because he's had two solid performances those first 2 weeks taking over as a starter, as a play caller and a play designer, as you're beginning to get comfortable with your run game going, you're seeing Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas and the tight ends make contributions. How do you decide how much I can put on his shoulders as I continue to expand what you're doing if you're in charge of that offense?
Yeah, we talked about this on game day first when you started Brock Osweiler, do you limit the game plan? Do you shrink the game plan? No. The offense, based on what you've done in preseason and the regular season, the offense is in. You're not shrinking anything. You may focus it. You may refocus or redefine a little bit in terms of, you're right, Brock Osweiler is going to be better at the stretch play, fake, boots, and waggles. So we're going to access more of that, and that's more likely what we want to do and certainly helps the running game a little bit more along the lines of what you were talking about, DJ. So I don't think they have to expand the playbook. I think Brock Osweiler has the complete playbook. They're simply refining it as to what he does best.
Coach, what's your take on the 2-point conversion craze we saw in the Steelers-Seahawks game? Look, Mike Tomlin's been very aggressive in going for 2-point conversions early on in games. Is that a factor just because of the particular kicker that they have, or is there something to be said with, hey, the odds are with us, might as well just go for 2?
Yeah, the 3 factors go into whether you go for the 2-point or not, particularly in today's NFL with the rule change. 1, does my kicker suck? If my kicker sucks, yeah, that changes my perspective because it changes the odds are. And when you look through the 2-point, the teams that are doing well, you go for 2-point either because you're very good, like a Seattle and Carolina who are good at it and have the personnel to do it, or because you have to, because you're behind and you got to squeeze out every point you can. The other thing that factors into it is, am I on the road or am I at home? I'm more inclined to go for it on the road depending upon the flow of the game. Am I good offensively or defensively? Particularly if that 2-point play is determining whether we go to overtime or not. Do I really want to go to overtime on the road versus taking that 50-50 chance of getting a 2-point? And that's right where we are right now, 50% completion percentage, or I should say success ratio, for most teams average across the way. So there's a lot that still goes into it. Certainly where the kicking, where the extra PAT is going from right now, that coaches are getting more used to it, and they're not going to be scrutinized or vilified for going for it more onto. The statisticians will tell you that you're far better going for it every time on a 2-point play than kicking it over the long term.
You know, Coach, it's funny that you said that because you alluded to Steph Curry and watching the Golden State Warriors. And in basketball, analytics play a huge role in teams kind of becoming more comfortable and more aggressive with the 3-point shot. Can you envision a time where, as a head coach, you say, look, we're going to be more aggressive with the 2-point play because it can create a lot of pressure on the opponent if you convert a 2-pointer early or you convert multiples early. It changes the dynamic of the game.
Yeah, everybody wants to apply the Moneyball analytics that we've all become so familiar with in baseball and even basketball to a degree. Frankly, they don't fit in football as well. Everybody's trying to, because the question you have is, okay, you can give me all these analytics. What do I do with it? You know, is it applicable? What's my action plan specific to what we're doing? Baseball, it's simple. You've got unbelievable amount of data. You got a pitcher, you got hitters, you know, singles and doubles versus home run, all that whole thing. Basketball, the 3-point versus the 2-point. Now, again, 3-point came in, mid-'80s? So we do have a little bit of data to go with it, but that's still evolving. In the NFL, you're talking about 22 bodies at the given time, the space of the field, the amount of data we have to do with it. Yeah, we're moving towards that a little bit, and the analytics may very well say you need to go for it on 4th down inside these parameters. You need to go for more 2-point earlier in the game, not just the end of the game when we're usually focused on it, but during the course of the game. You got to commit to it, though. We're beginning to build those analytics, but I don't know that it's going to carry the sway that it does in those other 2 sports.
Last thing about 2-point conversions. Coach, how many 2-point plays did you normally go into a game with when you were ready to dial up? Is it 2 or 3? Or because if you get into a situation like Seattle and Pittsburgh where they're chasing 2, how many of those 2-point plays do you have ready and available to you?
Yeah, good question, and that has changed. If you're going to, if you're typically in the old conventional sense going, okay, at the end of the game, do we go for it 2-point or not? It's an extension of your 3rd down package or your 4th down package if you have to go for it. You may carry up to 5 plays in that situation, assuming it's inside the 5-yard line, that you could access at any time. But if you're going to be a team, I imagine now Todd Haley, via what Mike Tomlin's doing in Pittsburgh, I imagine he's carrying a pretty healthy diet of that 3rd and short to 4th and 1 to 2 to 2-point category that they all would apply to inside that 5-yard line. I imagine he's carrying a pretty good catalog that maybe upwards of 10 plays into a given game plan because it has changed. I
remember in college we had 1 2-point play a week. Yeah. See, it was the 3rd. Okay, let's practice our 2-point play. That was it. Pittsburgh and Seattle need more than 1 in that game the other day. Right. Coach, I don't know
it's a little like the college game now, isn't it? That your plus 20 offense given overtime, that has tripled and quadrupled in terms of what you've got to have going in because of the way the overtime rule is in college now.
And also, like, you look at a team like Stanford, not to get in the weeds here, but Stanford's defense, bend but don't break. You get down inside that red zone. Their red zone defense has served them well, keep teams out of the end zone, save points, but also you get yourself in a situation like that, 2-point plays, end of the ballgame situations defensively. You're going to spend a little more time in that area as well. Coach, I don't know if you had a chance to hear Jeff Fisher's soundbite after the game talking about the media. I guess he didn't take too kindly to some of the suggestions there. I think we have the audio. We'll let you listen to it here.
Anyone implies that it's an effort issue, then they can kiss my okay? Because there's no effort problems on this with this team, okay? That's what happens when you lose 4 in a row. People say it's effort. Come to practice, watch this team play, and ask any other opponent or opposing coach. It's not an effort issue right now. It's execution.
All right, Coach. Look, things have gone south pretty quick here for the St. Louis Rams. In that type of a situation, who is he speaking to? Is he speaking to the media or is he speaking to his team?
Well, no, I think he's talking to his owner.
Yeah.
Because I think, and there's a conventional progression when things go tough that we've seen time and again. The coach begins by saying that I believe in my players, it's my fault, take it on me. We see that. Then that doesn't work. Then you burr up and you kind of, because at that point the players or the owner may be going, okay, maybe it is you. All right, you then get into that okay, well, we need better players. We saw Chip Kelly go schizophrenic on us, right? He started out when they were questioning about, why aren't you winning? Hey, we have a structure. We have a system. This works. Well, now he's, okay, well, maybe we don't have the players that we need. So you go through that evolution, but the death knell, the thing that every single coach after a loss, you listen, he will say, my players played hard, whether they did or not. Why? Because you're getting out ahead of the curve because at some point, if it continues, just like we see where Jeff Fisher is right now, someone is going to intimate that the players are quitting, therefore they're quitting on you as the coach. And you rail against that. It's become very cliche. Every coach in this situation is going to tell you, my players played hard. Well, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. And I'm one that I don't necessarily believe that players quit. What I do believe is, and you guys know this better than any, when you play at this level in the NFL, it has to be at an elite level, an absolute steely-eyed, focused, high-intensity level. Because if you just back off a little bit, even to the degree that maybe the lay person couldn't recognize if he saw it, but just a little bit, the athlete that's playing at that level will make you look like you've quit. So I don't know that they've quit in St. Louis. Are they playing with that same resolve and that focus? Are they finishing the way they did when they would win? Maybe not. But you can see Jeff Fisher is on that progression under someone who's under fire right now. He's sending a very clear message to the owner, my guys have not quit on me, because that's what the intimation is going to be if they continue, that the players have quit playing for him. And as a coach, I kind of reject that. You don't quit on the coach. You quit on yourself. You may quit on your team. But it's a familiar chant that we hear that you've lost. What's the next one? You've lost the locker room. That's the next one that we're going to hear if Jeff Fisher and St. Louis continue to struggle, and Jeff knows that all too well.
Coach, you think sometimes, I wonder this from a coaching perspective, that in the media we try and make everything complicated when sometimes we can just boil it all down to either have a quarterback or you don't?
Yeah, and isn't that the challenge for St. Louis going forward now? And they're out of sequence if indeed Jeff Fisher and even Les Snead can survive at St. Louis. And I think they're fairly firm there at St. Louis. They now have that dreaded, well, we got to go. We've got all these talent. We've got all this resources we put together on the field, but now we don't have a quarterback. Now we got to go get a quarterback in year 4? And you got to go now. And is that going to be a rookie? That's going to be a draft choice? Ask Ken Wisnott how it goes when you don't take a quarterback in your first year and you do it in the second. Ask Jack Del Rio when the organization signs off and says, we know it's going to be tough if you take a rookie quarterback. Let's do it anyway. And then you get fired at the end of the year because you haven't won enough games. That's the tough situation for St. Louis right now, is they got to go address the quarterback situation. And are you going to do that with a guy who is now in year 4 and hasn't won?
Coach, we always appreciate you joining us. We missed you last week because you had to sell the boat. Did you get the boat sold?
We got it done. Had to move it because the weather's getting bad out here. But I love you guys, but when it comes to selling a boat, it wins.
Good choice, as well as watching Steph Curry, by the way.
Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome.
That's big time. I want more Steph Curry stories next week, Coach.
All right, guys.
All right, thank you. That's Coach Billick. Joins us each and every week here on Move the Sticks, Buck. I love Coach.
Yeah, you got to like that. I'm curious to hear about his article. I want to read his article, Building a Wide Receiver Core, why the Bengals, the Cardinals, and Steelers are so good. Can't wait to dig into that because I'm always curious.
Yeah, you can check that out on NFL.com, by the way, for Coach Billick's latest article. All right, Buck, is that time for our Move the Six plays of the week here? We got a lot of candidates to choose from this week.
What we have?
Let me lead us off here. And to me, the touchdown pass to Marcus Wheaton from Ben Roethlisberger. Look, it's a nice catch, nice deep route. But to me, the throw by Ben Roethlisberger on the move to drop the dime that he did, I thought it was the best throw we had all weekend long.
I mean, this is vintage, classic Big Ben Roethlisberger, being able to escape the pocket, get away from the pressure, extend the play, and then deliver a teardrop down the field. But what I thought was really interesting when we look at the All-22, here we see the safety kind of cheating over the top. I think that's Martavis Bryant down at the bottom.
Yeah, get a little help over Martavis Bryant.
Making sure you help the receiver, but then you have Wheaton running right down the middle of the defense, going against Jeremy Lane, delivers a terrific pass. Love that throw.
No, that was big time. What's your play, Buck?
Doug Baldwin on this wheel route or this switch route down the boundary. Pittsburgh Steelers are playing a ton of cover 3. That means 3 deep defenders. So you're trying to work the underneath flat defender. You take him out on the flat, take it down the boundary. Russell Wilson delivers a perfect pass on the outside. The post took the corner away. I like the execution. Better yet, I like the play design.
I'm going to go with a double here from Anthony Barr. 2 plays that he made in this game against the Atlanta Falcons, just to show you what kind of player he is. Like, he gets cut on the backside here. Tevin Coleman ends up popping a long run, but Anthony Barr doesn't quit. You can see that former running back in him to be able to close the gap down here. Hustled, ball gets turned back into the middle of the field. Not only does he catch up to him, get a little Peanut Tillman, little punch out right here. Punch the ball out, get a turnover. That was big time, but then you just watch him close when you see what he does against the quarterback, Buck. We know against the run, pursuit, effort, hustle, speed, all that's great, but he got drafted as high as he did for his ability to get after the quarterback, and watch him close on Matt Ryan.
I mean, that's what you want to see. This is one of the things I was really intrigued by coming out of UCLA. His ability to get around the corner, to get to the quarterback, that's why you pay those guys big money. Playing the run and pass, Anthony Barr has quietly developed into that franchise player they thought he would be.
Yeah, we need to hear more about him, give him more credit from that draft class. What's your last one, Buck?
Adrian Peterson continues to amaze me, his ability to be able to churn out big plays at the end. Here on a simple toss crack, taking it around the corner, putting his foot in the ground, running through arm tackles. I don't think anyone does it as well as Adrian Peterson. But at 30 years old, still showing the burst, being able to high step 10 yards out. Man, that's a tremendous play from Adrian Peterson, sealing the deal in that game.
And Rhett Ellison made a nice block. I know a little bit earlier we showed this play on the show. I mentioned Rudolph made a nice block. It was actually Rhett Ellison from USC, probably celebrating a big win over the UCLA Bruins. A new head coach for the Trojans.
How about that? New head coach probably gave Anthony Barr the business a little bit as they dispatched the Bruins in a nice fashion.
Yeah, I did see Maurice Jones-Drew wearing a Juju Smith jersey.
How about that?
Sunday. Yeah, I think he definitely lost a bet. But that's going to do it for us here this week, Buck, on Move the Sticks. Again, if you're listening to the show, make sure you check it out. You can see all the tape we're talking about here, and you can find our show on youtube.com/NFL. Pump in Move the Sticks, and you will find it on there. Thanks again. Each and every week, you can find us right here. Move the Sticks, DJ Bucky. We'll be back next week with a fresh episode.
Thanks for downloading Move the Sticks with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks. For more, go to NFL.com/podcasts.